Welcome to your Productivity Pulse with Michelle Ochirikdeo, productivity coach and corporate wellness strategist. With over 30 years of experience in running my own business and helping people and businesses find solutions, get organized, and accomplish their goals, I decided to create a space and a place where we can talk, examine, and find solutions beyond the checklist and reimagine what productivity can look like for you and your organization. Let's get started. Confidence, self-efficacy, self-worth, self-esteem. What do they mean to you and how do they affect your ability to be productive? Can you be productive in one area of your life but not another? These are all great questions. Today we're going to focus on the difference between confidence and self-efficacy and what you can do to start making a shift in improving productivity in certain areas of your life. The goal is not to try and solve all your productivity problems in one episode, but if we can get you thinking about things from a different perspective regarding one productivity challenge you have and how you might take steps to solving it, then that would be a step in the right direction. In the world of improving productivity, we spend so much time talking about time management, better systems, better checklists, better apps, and yes, all of that does matter. But what happens when the thing that is actually standing between you and getting something done is none of those? What happens when it's actually a conversation or an argument you've been having with yourself about confidence or lack of it? Sometimes it comes out in other phrases like, I'm really struggling. I have no confidence. I'm not sure I can do this. Or, I keep second guessing myself. My self-confidence is in the toilet. Another one, I feel like I don't deserve to be here. I lost all my confidence. This one, confidence is a myth because at this point I feel terrible at everything. Well, news alert, I have a problem with the word confidence and how it generally is applied in many situations. When we say I lack confidence or I have confidence, what are we actually saying? Because here's the thing, that statement doesn't tell us anything useful. It can't be measured and it does not create any action steps to move us forward or give us any ideas of how to make things better, thus creating a challenge where productivity drops off and then we're all left with a situation of, well, what do we do next? Saying I'm not confident is a bit like saying I don't feel well. Okay, but where? Where does it hurt? What is actually going on? And without getting specific, we can't solve anything. And this is where I want to talk to you about a principle I believe has more power to improve productivity than the word self-confidence altogether. Because when you understand it and then apply it, it can change everything. That principle is self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is not something you have a little of or a lot. It's not about being high or low. That kind of language keeps us in the same trap as the word confidence. Too broad, too vague, not enough to actually work with. Self-efficacy is a principle, and like any principle, it has to be learned first and then applied. It's not about the amount of it you are carrying around. It's about the doing, the learning, the trying, and the updating of belief through action. It is task-specific and asks a much more useful question. Do I believe I can do this particular thing? And that specificity is everything when it comes to productivity. You can have high self-efficacy in one area and low self-efficacy in another, and that is completely normal. Well, let's start looking at some of the patterns of language that many of us fall into when we are describing ourselves and, anywhere where we're not very proficient. We often use broad sweeping terms that can quickly become a rooted belief and thus affecting our ability to act. And if you keep going down that path, simply there's a reduction in productivity when the belief is the barrier. Here are a couple of examples. I am disorganized, or I am not a tech person. Well, this is one of an active belief that I'm in the process of breaking as we speak. For a long time, I really believed, and I've talked to you about this before, that I'm not a tech person. But I kept saying that, and the truth is that it reduced my productivity in being able to pursue certain goals in my life because it created a barrier of me being able to actually get things done. I've broken it down into pieces, and now I'm able to, even if I have trouble with something, I'm actually able to work through it. And today we're going to be talking about those pieces of being able to apply self-efficacy and the steps that it takes to make that a reality. Those labels are not true. They are just unhelpfully broad, and they shut down problem solving before it even begins. So let's take a look at the real barrier. I've been having a lot of conversations lately with clients, with people in my community, and the theme that keeps coming up, which I can't stop thinking about, is, well, what happens when something happens, something that disrupts your life? Sometimes it can be an accident, or it could be a professional betrayal. Sometimes it can be a series of things that chip away at how we see ourselves and causes a ripple effect on our ability to function, to organize, to follow through. Simply, this process can be profound and fundamentally change our belief in a certain area of our life, creating a barrier. We do not always name it for what it is. Instead, we say things like, I just can't seem to get it together, or I used to be so organized, or I don't know what's wrong with me. But what's often happening underneath all of that is a breakdown of self-efficacy in specific areas. Not a global character flaw. It is something that with support and effort can be shifted and improved. Recently, in episode 27, which was on concussion recovery and productivity, I spoke with someone navigating their concussion recovery, and one of the threads that came through so clearly in that conversation was their fight to reclaim self-efficacy when their body and mind were not cooperating with what they were asking it to do. I wonder if they were asking their body and their mind to do too many things at one time, and if they had followed some of the steps to improve self-efficacy, would they see an increase in productivity in that identified area? I have to believe so. What are some of the real-life challenges that occur for us when self-efficacy takes a hit in a specific area? One of those is that we can become vulnerable to what I call the time disruptors, and we've spoken about those before. The late night gaming that bleeds into your sleep, the unintentional show binging that pulls you into a kind of fog, not because you're lazy or undisciplined, but because your brain is seeking a safe space where it doesn't have to try a specific thing and risk failing at it. Okay, so here's what research is telling us. Psychologist Albert Bandura, one of the most influential researchers in modern psychology, developed what he called self-efficacy theory. Self-efficacy is your belief in your ability to carry out a specific task and get a result. And Bandura's core finding was this: individuals with high self-efficacy believe in themselves and go on to exhibit high performance, while individuals with low self-efficacy do not have the same confidence in themselves, and their output reflects that. This is not about intelligence. It is not about talent or skill level. It is about belief. And what that means is that when self-efficacy breaks down in a specific area, productivity does not just slow down because you are distracted or disorganized. It slows down because your brain genuinely starts to question whether you are capable at all. The good news? Bandura also identified exactly how self-efficacy is built. It grows through mastery experiences. Those small moments where you try something, it works, and your brain registers, I can do this. It builds through seeing others succeed, through encouragement, and through learning to manage the anxiety that comes with doing hard things, which means that self-efficacy is not fixed. It is something you build, one small goal at a time, through the actual doing of it. So, how do we actually do this? Well, let me walk you through it one step at a time. Step 1. Start embarrassingly small. Pick one small task that almost feels too easy. And make your bed, send one email, write 3 sentences. Whatever area that you're feeling stressed in and that you want to be able to improve in. The size of the task doesn't matter. The completion does. Every time your brain registers, I did that, it quietly updates its belief in what you are capable of. Step 2. Stack your wins. Keep a running list, a sticky note, a note in your phone, anywhere visible, of things you completed that day. Not your to-do list, your done list. Looking back at evidence of follow-through is one of the most underrated confidence builders there is. Step 3. Name what is actually stopping you. Before you label yourself as lazy or unproductive, ask, is this a practical barrier like time disruptors or resources or support, or is this a belief barrier? The two are very, very different indeed, and they need different solutions. Getting honest about which one you are dealing with is the first step in moving through it. Step 3 is where I could help you identify what kind of productivity barrier you're facing. Step 4. Once the barrier has been identified and you pick a goal, it is time to start goal chunking. Yes, it sounds messy and it can be, but sometimes we need to get a little messy to get to the heart of the matter. Don't skip this step. It's very important. This is the step that makes the rest of this process work. We need to identify a general goal. Then it is time to chunk it into mini goals and then break it into smaller tasks. And at that point, then you can start applying some of my glorious time tools that I have available to you. I think this would be a great time for me to give you a good analogy. And I thought my garden would be a fabulous way for me to describe it to you, because just last week I went outside and it was a veritable nightmare. I'm not sure about you if you've ever seen crabgrass before, but somehow crabgrass has taken over my entire neighborhood. And in my whole garden, it seems to have gone everywhere. And the only way you can get it out is literally on your hands and knees. One small piece at a time. So when I looked at the whole thing, I thought, what's the point, right? Why should I even be bothering? And then I thought, no, I need to apply Bandura's theory of self-efficacy, and how can I break all these down so that I actually am living what I am trying to teach and show people. My big goal was to weed my entire garden. Well, the thought of it, of course, was very overwhelming and it's too much. So I said, break it down. And I broke it down into my mini goals. Now, my mini goals, I have 11 garden beds. Yes, I do. I have 11 separate garden beds, and they all needed to be weeded. At that point, I thought, okay, I can take a breath and know that if I break down them into the different beds, that maybe that's a little bit easier than just thinking about all the garden beds at one time. And at this point, I'm going to name each garden bed. So 1 through 11, put it onto a plan. Now for yourself, if you were breaking down into these mini goals, what you can do is take pictures of the garden bed, making sure that you have some sort of photo documentation or you've written it all down, those kind of pieces. And then we break it down further. Now we break it down into the tasks. I take garden bed 1, and last week I set aside 1 hour a week in the evening to work on one garden bed at a time. Tuesday night was garden bed 1. I was able to set that time aside, complete the task, and wouldn't you know it, I started to breathe. I saw this beautiful bed and I felt, oh my goodness, there's an increased belief internally that I can actually get this done. This is possible. And so I then was able to take a look at this piece. My belief increased, the self-efficacy increased, and that gave me the encouragement to keep going and to set another set of task time aside for garden bed 2 and 3. Now, in addition to that, yes, I was given a little bit of a gift by one of my neighbors coming by and taking a look at the garden and just saying, oh my goodness, that's amazing. That is that part where, if we can get feedback from other people about the tasks we're working on in order to be able to give us some of that encouragement that we need. My belief in the ability to complete the bigger goal now rises, and it gives me the encouragement to move on to the task of weeding garden bed 3 and 4. This process takes a little bit of practice, and sometimes you might be lulled back into the old ways of jumping into a project, but that can quickly become overwhelming when you're not sure what to do next, and you start to lose the ground you thought you had made when you had the idea for the big goal in the first place. Let's step through a more general description of identifying what to do in step 4. Pick your goal, chunk your goal into mini goals. Take one mini goal at a time and break it down into tasks. Now get specific on the order of the tasks that need to happen. Once you know the task, you decide how much time each one deserves, and then you choose one of the time tools that is going to protect the time and your investment into the process. Essentially, you want to do whatever you can to keep you honest And then it goes, one of the pieces that I believe in is making sure that it gets into your calendar. So once you've got that task set, then you put it into your calendar. That gives you some of that intrinsic accountability. There are some people who are really good at stepping into this process, and others who need more support beyond the calendar and the intrinsic accountability piece I just spoke about. And still, though, there are others who are able to thrive and on just basically, having an accountability partner come in, of which sometimes I can play that role for people too. So you just need to figure out what kind of accountability you need for which goals, because intention plus accountability equals productivity. And I just continue to say that because I believe it and I live it. And if you can get that mantra in your head, it will truly help you walk through the process when you're feeling a little less encouraged. This process does not just give you a chance to organize your time and put you on the path to improve productivity, but it can give you back time. And it hands you proof in small, real increments that you are capable of the things in front of you. That is self-efficacy in action. It is not something you decide to feel, but something you build one step at a time. I want to thank you for sharing this very important conversation with me. I learned a lot while putting Bandura's principles of self-efficacy into action. For me, it was my garden and those darn weeds that had infiltrated my life and shaken my belief that I could accomplish the goal by myself. I'm heading into garden bed 5 or 6, I think, this weekend, and I'm secure in my belief now that I can complete my series of tasks, mini goals, and larger goal in my allotted time. Please, I invite you to join my newsletter where you can see my garden progress, and I share with you more inventive and refreshing ways to improve your productivity, reduce your stress, and ignite sparks of joy. I look forward to hearing your self-efficacy journey and would love to do a guest interview with someone who puts this process into action. One thread at a time, one task at a time, one small win at a time. This is how self-efficacy grows, and that is how productivity flows. Until next time, keep listening to your pulse.